You might have heard from Nigel Farage and his merry band of reactionaries that the country is in grave peril. No, not from that. It's from migrants crossing the channel in rubber dinghies you'd consider too flimsy for pootling around Shadwell Basin, let alone navigating the world's busiest shipping channel while carrying women and children.
It is pretty dangerous, just the number of people on board that boat. Let me just see. Are you okay? Are you all right?
They're Syrians who fled a country torn apart by civil war, bailing out a tiny boat with a plastic bucket. How do you think they're getting along, Simon? In contrast to the government's hostile environment for migrants, the media has fostered a much more hospitable one when it comes to super dumb opinions about migration.
I'd go down the Trump route. Why not have a nice spiky barbed wire fence somewhere down the channel, very rubber dinghy unfriendly?
Just instead of the Border Force going out and bring them in like a free taxi service, the Border Force goes out to mid-channel and turns everyone round they come across.
No one getting on a dinghy in France is desperate.
Completely close the borders, because it's got to the stage now there's no education, schooling, infrastructure. It's enough. We are sinking.
Ash, are you all right?
I'll be fine, just waiting for the tramadol to kick in. The problem with the establishment media's macabre and content-free coverage of migrants crossing the channel is that little to no attempt is made to counter much of the bollocks which has become lodged in the deepest recesses of the nation's psyche. Because there's no context, images of brown men in small boats are, no pun intended, floating signifiers. They're seen through the lens of much of the prejudiced, dishonest and alarming coverage which you find in right-wing print and political media. Journalists are failing in their duty to separate fact from popular feeling. Now, a reporter might say that their job is just to neutrally convey what's going on by finding an event and physically pointing at it.
This close, hello!
But by the time a BBC News or Sky reporter has even put on their life jacket, the plight of migrants at sea has already been reduced to far-right talking points determined by Nigel Farage and given governmental legitimacy by Priti Patel. Journalists have a responsibility to debunk the myths which will inevitably become attached to the images that they generate and distribute. Myths like the UK is uniquely burdened with refugees because other countries are failing to take on their fair share. It's actually the opposite. Britain isn't even in the top 10 for refugee hosting countries. And in fact, only 2 countries in Europe, Germany and Turkey for those of you who are interested, even feature in that list. And that's because 85% of people who are displaced across borders choose to stay in countries neighbouring the one that they just left. We're not even that popular when you compare us to other European countries. Last year, the UK received 44,835 asylum applications. Greece, in comparison, got over 77,000. Spain received over 117,000, France 128,000, and Germany 165,615 asylum applications. Okay, but what about all that stuff about migrants coming over here just to live large off the benefits system and steal all our jobs?
Listen, I've applied for 100 jobs in the railway, 100 jobs. But these immigrants, they get all their tickets paid for, they get all their jobs.
Well, contrary to popular opinion, the fraction of migrants who do want to come to the UK aren't doing it because of our hugely generous benefit system. Asylum seekers aren't even allowed to apply for permission to work in the UK unless they've been waiting on a response to their initial claim for 12 months. And many are entitled to just £37 a week to cover food, travel and other necessities. And I can absolutely guarantee you that nobody is risking their life or their child's life just to get a £5 a week and EastEnders on the telly. While Nigel Farage has been banging on about migrants being put up in 4-star hotels, which just means that there's hot food, private bathrooms and Wi-Fi, asylum seekers have actually been complaining about being assigned to accommodation which is rat-infested and unfit for human habitation. The businesses responsible for this accommodation are often companies who've been awarded contracts worth billions by the government. So it's not actually the asylum seekers who are fleecing the system. It's corporations like G4S, Serco and Mins. What commonly brings asylum seekers to the UK is speaking a shared language, having family here already, or the existence of community networks which can help support them as they try and build a life for themselves. is absolutely not the prospect of getting a complimentary shortbread Vicky at a Dover hotel. Alright, so what if you accept that asylum seekers should be treated like human beings on principle, but you just think that the UK is too full to accept any more people? According to Inside Housing and Shelter, 2% of English land area is used for golf courses, which is around the same amount of land area which is used for housing. And it's not as if people are going around insisting that the Royal Navy should intervene to stop the scourge of golfers. Although, maybe they should.
Just an amazing place, and nothing will ever be built around it because I own all the land around it. It's nice to own land.
It's certainly true that there's a housing crisis in this country, but that's not because every single habitable building is literally full to the brim with people. According to official data, housing supply has outstripped housing formation every year since 1996. The problem isn't that there physically isn't enough housing out there. It's that the cost of renting or buying is prohibitively high and there's not enough actually affordable housing being built. So that's not a crisis of population, it's a crisis of profiteering. Good journalism isn't just about pointing and gawping, it's about providing essential context. Because when reporters don't do that, they end up playing into the hands of bad faith actors like Nigel Farage. If you like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the notification bell. And if you really like this video, or maybe you just want to pay for my tramadol habit, go to navara.media/support where you can donate the equivalent of 1 hour of your wage per month, and we'll keep working around the clock to bring you the news and analysis you just can't find anywhere else.